Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. We're doing something a little bit different today. We're going over the top 5 melee classes in PvP in my opinion. And again, this is my opinion. Everyone has their different opinions. In my opinion, I think Unholy, Havoc, Windwalker, Ret, and Warrior are the strongest right now. If you don't want to watch the whole video and just want the classes to begin with right there. And now I'm going to go over, I guess, don't look at me RP walking, this is sacred. I'm going to go over kind of why I think Warrior is the best, and I'll be doing this, or one of the best, and why I think it is, and then I'll be doing this with kind of every spec. So, overall, I think with all these classes that I'm going to be listing, you can play really any of them, and if you can play all of them at the same level, I'd say they can all be around the same rating. I don't think, like, if I had to pick one of them that are just, or two of them that are just incredibly broken right now, Unholy Death Knight and Windwalker Monk. Honorable mention, Rat Pally. And then the other two are like the honorable mentions. But, I mean, they're still gonna work. They're still gonna shit on people compared to, like, you know, Sub-Rogue. But even that has their place, I guess. But anyway, in my opinion, why Warrior is one of the more fun slash best PvP classes. If it's not broke, don't fix it. This is what Blizz has, I'd say, been doing with... I mean, Fury was fixed, so now it's fixed, and now it's not broken, so they're not going to fix it again, hopefully, but I think Fury's really fun. Fury is one of the most fun specs I've played in a while, especially with the 30% haste, 30% haste buff window in the Enrage timer that you do get. Arms obviously has its own place as well, obviously just getting 30k Mortal Strikes and stacking that cooldown and healing reduction and damage over time on top of that Mortal Strike is very fun to deal with. Along on top of that, what makes Arms, I'd say, more favorable at kind of higher elos is the damage reduction with your defensive stance and your die by the sword. Obviously, those two abilities there... Oh, I'm not in... Oh, I'm Fury. Anyway, those two abilities can pretty much give you 40% damage reduction instantly. So that's something to keep in mind. Fury, however, it doesn't have the damage reduction, but it has a lot more self-healing. You're not as reliant on a healer, I guess, so that's kind of what makes Fury really good in 2s and why you see it so much in 2s as well. If you go to 2s or 3s, 3s is most likely going to be an Arms Warrior, 2s is most likely going to play a Fury Warrior, depending on the comp, however. Arms does have that higher execute and lower cooldowns based on a certain talent. It's the bottom left talent, Anchor Management, I think. Fury does have 15% increased damage, however, with the bottom right talent Siegebreaker, so it's kind of trading blows there. Yeah, that's it, I don't know. Arms is all, like, if Fury, like, there's a reason Warriors in every game, no matter what it is, no matter what fantasy game you're in, there's gonna be some just turn your brain off, kinda hit the person in front of you, and you'll eventually die spec slash class, and that's Warrior in this case. So, at the bottom of the ladder, I'd say Warrior. Really good, but the shittiest of the good. So the next class I'm going to be talking about, guys, is Havoc Demon Hunter. I mean, we all know it by now, even though a lot of us aren't really playing it anymore. I'm pretty sure Havoc Demon Hunter is one of the lowest played classes now. After Legion, kind of the hype fell off and then everyone just stopped playing it. However, that does not mean that it is not fun. Whenever I play Havoc, I mean, it's one of my most favorable melees just because it's so mobile. It's pretty much like a monk on cocaine that doesn't have to put down a teleport. This thing's gonna attack me. It's gonna cause... Yep, awesome. We'll just run away. And this is where I show Demon Hunter mobility. And wowee, it's a monk on coke. Oh, no meta. Whatever. Anyway. Very high mobility. As you can see there, I mean... I don't even know how far I traveled. And whenever you do jump like this, you do go a little bit faster than normal move speed. Than your normal walking move speed, I might add. The gliding thing, this speed right here... is a lot faster than just your normal walking speed. So keep that in mind. Just already rank 1, just because of that tips and trick. Consistent damage. Pretty much, Havoc is just pressing Blade Dance now. I don't have a problem with it. I did see this coming, because Blade Dance was probably the most thought they'd ever put into ability. And now it's just the only ability we revolve our rotation around, so I'm pretty happy about that. Another thing that kind of just makes Demon Hunter really good, other than the very high consistent damage, the very high mobility, so you can stick on any healer no matter what. Hint, hint, Mistweaver's Restos. Just focus those if you're a Demon Hunter. huge purge and interrupts. You have a range interrupt at a 10-yard range, which is like, I'd say the same as a Death Knight Mind Freeze, maybe it's 5 yards less. But then you have a purge on a 10-second cooldown, and the only other class to have a purge, excluding Spell Steal from a mage, is, I'd say, Shaman. And they gave it to a Demon Hunter. And when you do purge, you obviously get Hatred, which is really nice. I like that kind of incentive to actually removing beneficial magic effects, and they should do it with kind of every interrupt. Or, you know, interrupt or purge, I'd say. That's my opinion. On top of already the purges and interrupts, Metamorphosis has such a low cooldown with the right honor towns. 2-minute cooldown, reduced with certain traits as well. This one reduces the... Okay, so let me go through Metamorphosis real quick. Demonic, I-Beam gives you Metamorphosis for 8 seconds. I-Beam is on a 30-second cooldown. It's reduced further by certain traits, which means you're going to be I-Beaming a lot more, which means you're going to be in Demon form a lot more. So that's just extra Demon form, just an I-Beam itself. This is excluding the cooldown Demonic Origins, which reduces the cooldown of Metamorphosis by 2 minutes as well. So 2-minute cooldown reduction on Metamorphosis from 4 to 2. 2-minute cooldown there, I believe you're in there for 15 seconds, sorry. So 15 seconds, 8 seconds, that's 23 seconds immediately. There's another trait, which I don't have anymore, where it's whenever you enter Demon form, the cooldown on your I-Beam is reset. That's the big thing right there, is I-Beam. You can pretty much get a 30 seconds of Demon form if you really, really want to with the right traits. And that Demon form gives you 25% haste, 30% leech, and empowers your abilities to do a lot of extra damage. So that's another reason to play Demon Hunter if the mobility and like everything else wasn't already enough. And there's even more on top of that. Mana break / consume. It's like old mana burn, kind of, except the person has to stand in it. That's it. It just burns their mana. It's really good in Arena. It's really, really useful. They also have mana break, which is just increases the mana cost of their spells. Can be good. It used to be different. It used to do extra damage based on missing mana, but I'm glad to see they changed that because it's pretty useless before. Another one, Eye of Leothris. They have just very fun honor talents in general. Eye of Leothris just does heavy damage. That's it, just does heavy damage whenever someone casts. Reverse magic can reverse dots to Affliction Warlocks. Pretty much just really, really unique honor talents. I'd say, if anything, out of all the specs in the game, this probably has the most unique honor talents out of all of them. And then you can play certain playstyles if you play around with your talent trees. You can play a kind of Chaos Strength build with Dark Slash, and there's another one here. Pretty much Dark Slash is, I guess, what makes that. You just change this one around, and you can have tens of billions of honor talents in talent combinations. But anyway, that's Demon Hunter. In conclusion, why I think it's really strong. It's just mobile as fuck, and it just flies. Here, I'll show you guys just how mobile it is. So dash, leap, retreat, and that's without just pressing W. Probably close that distance. And then, you know, they just have crazy damage, as most of you have probably seen by now through the entire expansion. So, on to the next class. In case you haven't guessed already, Unholy Death Knight is going to rank somewhere in the list. It's in the middle. The only reason I have other things above this is because I'd say they're all about even. I don't think there really is a #1 spot. It's really whatever you can play the best. But going over Unholy, as with every other plate armor class, it has very high armor, so you're going to take reduced damage from physical abilities naturally. It is a very slow class, but you can slow a lot. You can just spam Chains of Ice, and that's all you really have to do to counter that. Healing Absorption. This is the main thing that everyone, like, just either hates or just doesn't really like. Or personally, I hate it. Death Knights love it. Necrotic Strike converts a Festering Wound, which is applied through your normal rotation, and absorbs 7% of the maximum health of the target. So it does damage, and absorbs max health absorbs healing, sorry, based on max health. This is what is everything wrong with Unholy Death Knight. I liked it before when it was just like a flat amount of healing absorption based on your strength or attack power, whichever one it was. And now it's just, you go in there as a Prot Pally, you're going to be taking, quick maths here, I'd say like 20,000 absorptions on heals. That's not including Maledict, which, God, just came straight from the pits of hell. That was just the biggest mistake you've ever done, Blizz, if I can say that. Anyway, back on Unholy. Best class fantasy. All I have to say is, like, Army of the Dead, and just having, you know, unholy pets around. It's one of the better ones. I'd say it's close with Demonology, Warlock, and Class Fantasy, and, like, if it was actually viable. I mean, Unholy is very viable right now. I'm saying Demo. If Demo is viable, I guess the Class Fantasy would appeal to more people, but since Unholy is really viable, and the Class Fantasy is, in my opinion, really, really fun to boggle the mind with, it does kind of, you know, that's a little something to toss your way. You're a ranged spellcaster. If you take Clawing Shadows, you literally play like a ranged. The only thing you're missing out on is your melee auto attacks, which do have a chance to proc your Death Coil, but that's kind of it. If you could ranged auto attack, then you'd just be a caster. That's melee, that's ranged. You're like a warlock that pretty much has armor all the time. Damage over time, I mean, doesn't really need any explanation. Death and Decay, damage over time. Outbreak and Virulent Plague. Virulent Plague is just like any warlock dot on steroids. It's outstanding. It's probably one of the better abilities I've seen introduced to the game, and is really fun in general. All your damage is shadow damage. I think we only do physical damage based on our auto attacks and our Festering Strike. I believe that's it. Everything else... Oh, and our Abomination. Our Abomination also does physical damage, but it does so much that it doesn't even matter. But you all do shadow damage, so, I mean, if you're going against a plate where you're just going to be chunking through that physical armor, or that armor reduction, or the physical damage reduction, I'm nailing it. But yeah, if you're going against a warrior that's arms, you can just kite around forever and he'll die just to damage over time. And shadow damage, one of the best melees. Obviously all these are melees, top 5 for melees. You can be immune to stuns with Icebound Fortitude, pretty good. I've seen people take Lichbane as well, or Lichborn, sorry, which is the same thing, but it slows you. 1 minute cooldown though, yeah, that's it's nice. Low cooldowns. Abomination has a 1.5 minute cooldown. This has a 1.3 minute cooldown. This has a 1 minute cooldown. All these cooldowns synergize really well with each other. This gives you haste. This does a ton of damage and applies Festering Wounds, which then can be used with Necrotic Strike, and Dark Transformation empowers your one pet to be like another Unholy Death Knight, training the healer. So it's really, really strong. It was, like, came out of nowhere. I'm waiting for, like, just Frost to be good again, because Unholies just came out of nowhere for some reason. Now I'm just waiting for Frost, but play Unholy while it's good. Guarantee you they'll nerf it to, I mean, if enough people complain about any spec, they'll nerf it, but I'm betting they'll nerf Unholy soon. At least the healing. If not, just the damage overall. But, on to the next one. Here's the next one. Big surprise, it's Windwalker Monk. It was really shitty. Outstandingly shitty before the changes came through. And now it's really good. There's so many reasons why it's good right now. Very, very mobile. I'd say it's on par with Demon Hunter, if not more mobile than them. Matters how good the player is. We'll RP around. RP walk around now. Adds to the dramatic effect. Hard-hitting abilities. Your Rising Sun Kick and your Fist of Fury. If I just hover over the tooltip, 13,000, 33,000, 50,000 damage over, what, 5 seconds? 10,000 DPS on 20-ish second cooldown. With a healing reduction. Reasons why it's really good in Arena. Also, in every Fist of Fury, you slow and parry. And it does full damage now. So, I guess the best way to, like, explain Fist of Fury, if you don't know what it is, it was so good in the past that it stunned, I think, for 5 seconds every 20 seconds. So they got rid of the stun, and then they reduced the damage. And then, in the pre-patch, it was just doing normal damage to one target, and then half damage to the rest of the targets, and now with this Honor Town, we can do full damage to everyone that's getting hit by Fist of Fury, and it now slows the person by 90%, which isn't the same thing as a stun, but can somewhat accomplish similar goals, I guess. As long as you're not trying to, I guess, stun a healer with Fist of Fury. Anyway, teleport. You have a demonic circle as a... never knew. Never knew if you RP'd Wonk, it would slow your roll. So you have a circle. You know, you put that there, you run around this corner. It's not in my line of sight, but I can still teleport to it. Really good in Arena. Self-heals. Expel Harm. Reverse Harm, sorry. Converts... heals you for 8% of your maximum health. Does the damage of that healing to a target within 5 yards. Really, really good if you're going against melee. And also really, really good when it just comes to getting your health back up on a 10-second cooldown, so not horrible. Does generate 2 chi, so it's pretty much like another Tiger Palm and is used as such. It's one of the most unique ones. I'd say if you gave like a pally something like this, it would just be really broken. But since we gave it to, I guess, a kind of slightly underpowered, or previously underpowered spec, then I see why it's working now. And this is kind of, I don't know. I think it's one of the most fun things to happen to Windwalker in a long time. It can be tanky with the right talents. I'm kind of taking those talents now. If you take your Fortifying Brew, which increases max health, reduces damage taken both by 20%, along with Dampen Harm, reduces all damage you take by 20% to 50% for 10 seconds, you're pretty much just a really, really mobile tank that's not going to die for about 10 seconds. Whenever those cooldowns do end, though, obviously that does go away. And then there is Inner Strength as well, which just reduces damage you take by 10% as well. So you can be very tanky if you just kind of play to your advantages and just play like a really, really mobile pally, I want to say, but that's not the best explanation. But I'd say that's a close... You're pretty much like a mobile pally in the fact that you just run in, hit the person really hard, and then run away. Spinning Crane Kick is like one of my favorite abilities. It was just beaten to the ground, though, recently. It's horrible unless you use all of your abilities on multiple targets. Then it does maybe okay damage. With a certain trait, though, it can do really good damage in Battlegrounds, and it is usually one of the higher damage abilities that I have. However, if you don't take the trait, it's pretty much Wet Noodle, and then you're going to be taking this if you really want to min-max all the time. But, yeah. Really fun burst. If you don't know what Windwalker Burst does, you just summon 2 of these, and it's like a replication of yourself, and you do... I think each of you does 45% of your normal damage, so in total you're doing 135% of your normal damage to the target. As long as all of these guys are attacking the same guy. You can also split these guys up on different targets if you really want to. And then you can apply, of course, your healing reduction and your slow from Fist of Fury on those guys with that as well. And final thing to add, Windwalker can completely one-shot someone in a stun if you pull it correctly. Usually you want a Touch of Death, Spinning Crane Kick, and then use your burst and all of that. And then if you're playing with like a rogue or a mage or something like that, you'll probably die in the stun. And the main reason behind this is Touch of Death. It just does percent max health damage at the end of the duration and is really, really strong in Arena. So on to the last melee spot then. For the final melee of the patch. The only reason I say this, not the only reason, like, based on my personal opinion, my personal playstyle of Red Pally, kind of seeing Red Pallies just go around an arena and slap everyone. And just because I saw a Red Pally when I was streaming the other day, I believe, from memory, he had 217 wins, 15 losses. Don't know who he was playing with, but he was rank 1 2v2 Red Pally. Rank 1 2v2 player overall. I think his name was Brain or something, but... Anyway, talking about Red Pally and why I think it's really, really broken and or the most fun / most strong melee, in my opinion, of this patch. God, well, let's just look at recount. Templar's Verdict, average hit 13,000. One button does 13,000 damage. This is, I'd say, just what makes it so fun. I think maybe I think it was WoD, maybe Warlords. They came to the conclusion that Ret should just be a build-up to, I guess, one huge damaging ability. And a lot of people don't really have a problem with that. I don't as well. I mean, I think it's really fun just running around hitting people for 11,000. And then when it's critting, hitting people for about 20 to 30,000. Really, really, really fun. And this is, I guess, what makes it really, really strong in Arena. With that 20% damage increase, I think it's 20%, I'll look just in case I'm wrong. 20% damage increase, healing increase, and crit chance increase. With that, on a 2-minute cooldown, obviously, you're going to be slapping people incredibly hard. Mix that with a stat trinket and a maledict, and you're going to be doing a lot of damage. Along with, I guess, certain talents as well. There's this one, which instantly removes all stuns, silence, fear, and horror effects, which is obviously really, really strong. 40-yard range, 45-second cooldown, and reduces the duration by 60% for future effects. On top of that, I guess there's Hammer of Reckoning, which just does a ton of damage and grants you Avenging Wrath for 6 seconds, which can be used in a certain window to, I guess, get very high damage off. Another thing that I've seen around is Ultimate Retribution, which is a rehash or remix of your normal Retribution talent. When allies slain within 40 yards of you, your Redemption spell can now be cast while in combat within the next 20 seconds with a 6-second cast time. Using Divine Shield or Blessing of Protection on yourself will cancel this effect, one an ally within 40 yards falls below 25% health, you gain Avenging Wrath for 6 seconds. So you see a common theme here of Avenging Wrath. Ultimate Retribution isn't as strong for Arena as you think it is, because obviously no one's going to really be dying that much. But it is really strong just for those wings. With Ultimate Retribution, Hammer of Reckoning, and then just normal wings, you're going to have a very high uptime on that. With that high uptime, high damage, very high Templar's Verdict, very high Wakes of Ashes. There's also a Divine Storm trait, which I don't have personally because I'm taking Holy Ones. But it is right there. Your auto attacks have a chance to increase the damage of your next Divine Storm and make it free and deal additional damage. Bubble. I mean, you still have Bubble. Bubble's never gone away. You have Self-Bubble. You have Blessing of Sacrifice, which of course, if you don't know what it is, it absorbs melee attacks. You also have a Damage Absorption, which does damage. 47,000 damage to be exact, which is just a shit ton on a 1.4 minute cooldown. Your cooldowns are pretty short, to be honest. I'm not even taking Word of Glow anymore, so Wings on a 2-minute cooldown, this on a 1.5-minute cooldown, and then your Wake of Ashes if you take it on a 45-second cooldown. There's kind of a common theme with Ret, and it's just huge hits. I mean, Wake of Ashes, 12,000. Templar's Verdict, 12,000. Even your Blade of Justice hits decently hard, and Judgment, both hitting for an average of about 5,000, which with this gear is not bad. You can be CC immune. I mean, I've already talked about that. You can remove CCs, and then you can reduce the duration of them by 60%. A lot of the Ret animations, I guess, look really cool. The new... Oh, wait. Maybe it's only Holy that has the new Flash of Light animation, but I'll show you the Wings animation here. A lot of people like the old one, but I don't think this one's that bad. Of course, animations are like the least important thing. But, you know, some people care about them, surprisingly. And, yeah, that's Ret. Ret's just like, it's the plate melee that can just... It does incredible damage. If you pair Ret Unholy Pally, you're probably going to win every arena. I don't think you're going to lose much. So the main takeaway from this, guys, if you guys liked it, thumbs up. Check out the live stream. It's the first link in the description. It's in the upper left. All of this is not set in stone. This is all my personal opinion, and it's just what I think is the most fun / is the best right now. It's more so is the best, but I think all of these classes are really fun and can be competitive with each other at any rating. So if you guys liked it, be sure to share it and throw it a thumbs up. Leave a comment saying what you guys want to see. If you guys want to see any videos kind of like this, just me ranking, I guess, how to improve certain classes, what I do to improve certain classes, maybe even story time, seriously. Anyway, until next time, guys.